Tina. She is an 11-year-old mare who is now trained to Grand Prix. I've owned her since she was 3 years old, and we're going to talk through a few exercises. So the next exercise I'm talking about is straightness. Now, I would say straightness is possibly one of the hardest movements in dressage. I think keeping a horse straight is very difficult. A lot of the time we see horses that aren't straight are crooked. And what makes a horse crooked? Well, a horse is crooked when a horse is either curled up. So a horse which is curled up to the inside, you'll see a horse that either has the quarters in. So if I just do a little bit of a demonstration, you come see a horse and people think they're cantering down a centre line, and then they see the horse with the quarters in. So again, if the quarters aren't in, sometimes you can see a horse with a lot of bend to an inside where the rider is trying to keep the shoulders straight or turning the horse. As you think about turning down a centre line, as you turn, then you obviously have the horse curled up. So then you end up cantering down a centre line, looking with the horse to the inside. Now, what is straightness? So straightness is, with the horse, I always think of the head and neck in front of the chest. So as I look down, I want to keep the horse straight. So I want to look at her neck and think, is that straight? Is that curled up to the inside? Is that looking to the outside? What's happening with the shoulders? So again, I position the shoulders. So as I turn, I think 2 reins. So now I'm looking and I'm thinking straight. So I look, I think of my reins being even. And then with my leg aids, again, it's 2 reins and 2 legs. So my legs stay by the girth. So I don't want to put one leg back, because obviously if I put my leg back to keep the horse either cantering, sometimes we have a stronger, more dominated leg. So therefore we start kicking harder with that leg. Sometimes without realising as a rider, then the horse starts to become crooked because we're pushing and trying to keep the horse straight or motivated, and then the horse becomes crooked. Now I can see, as I'm cantering down here in the mirror, again, useful tip to have is mirrors. And if you don't have mirrors, then having eyes on the ground. And if you don't have eyes on the ground, just finding someone to record you and watching back. But I think it's very, very important that you learn also not to just rely on someone to tell you whether the horse is straight, but you have to learn to feel it. So the feeling I'm looking for when I'm cantering, so if I now come off the wall and I'll come on the 3/4 line, again, does the horse drift to the outside? Does the horse fall off the line? What happens to the head and neck? What happens to the shoulders? Does the canter slow down? So there's all these things that I think about when I come on the 3/4 line. So if I just do it again, so I've got to keep her uphill. I've got to think of the shoulders being in line with the head and neck, so I keep her dead straight. I don't think about curling her up to the inside. My legs are supporting the body, so the body has to stay upright. So I think about keeping her between 2 reins and 2 legs, so that I just keep the same canter and keep the head and neck in front of the chest to keep her straight. Now if I come round here, so as if I was going to come down a centre line, and then I come round, and this is quite often what you can see, and people can think that this is straight, but what you can see is that she's bent to the inside and also falling through that outside shoulder, which makes her drift off the line. So what that tells me, if I see that in a rider, that the rider hasn't got the horse between 2 reins and 2 legs. So I literally feel that when I come through the turn, I turn the horse from the outside rein, so I'm turning the left shoulder. Now I think of the head and neck in front of the chest. I sit in the middle, so I think about looking, my eyes look up and I have my chin up, keep her ears up in front of me, keep the head and neck in front of the chest, and then I make my turn. So once more, I turn from the outside and then I have to keep her straight. Keep cantering, keep the head and neck in front of the chest. And again, nothing changes. So again, really, really important to think of the two reins and the two legs for that straightness. It's very, very easy to have the horse either curled up to the inside or curled up to the outside, or you see the quarters drifting out. Again, trying to keep the quarters, so the inside hind, so when I say the quarters underneath the horse's body, now I always think of this inside hind leg here is underneath my seat bone. It's not to the outside of her body, it's underneath my bottom. So I feel her canter with it underneath. So if I just show you what would happen if I let her canter a little bit. So here, if I look in the mirror here, I can see that inside hind leg. So I canter down here and I can see her right hind leg out to the outside of her body. So what do I have to do to correct that? Well, again, a lot of people think pulling them to the inside is going to make the horse straight, when in actual fact, it's all about your inside leg to your outside rein and riding the horse between two reins and two legs. So if I come down the long side, now I think of the head and neck in front of the chest, the shoulders going down the long side, not bending the neck, keeping her straight, my inside leg to my outside rein, and then I canter. So again, just lots of exercises, and again, not always doing it on the wall, taking yourself on the 3/4 line like I did, to again test yourself. What happens when you come off the wall? Do I drift? Do I fall to the outside? Does the horse stay upright? Does the horse stay straight? So again, just always trying to test yourself and not rely on the wall to keep you straight. Take yourself on the 3/4 line and see what happens. Again, it's a really useful exercise to be able to do to have the horse straight, because if you can have the horse straight, again, it makes everything so much easier to set up. If you come round any corner with the horse curled up into any movement, you know, whether you're just going to turn on a diagonal line. So if I just ride a diagonal line, so I will do a bad one first. So if I ride with the horse curled up to the inside, so I'll just demonstrate. So I come round the corner, the horse is down, horse's quarters are in, and then I come on the diagonal line. You can see what happens when I come on the diagonal line. The first part of my diagonal line, the horse is falling with its quarters to the inside. So incorrect. What do you do? How do you correct it? So I'll just go back and I'll just demonstrate how to correct it. So this is where straightness, again, you know, it's as simple as going round a corner, having a horse straight, having a horse upright, having the horse around your inside leg but not curled up. So I think about here, 2 reins, 2 legs. Keeping the horse upright as I turn inside leg to my outside rein. I look on my diagonal line and there you go, I have a straight diagonal line. So whether I'm just going to ride an extended canter, whether I'm going to ride a set of changes, whether I'm going to go into a half pass, I still need to have the horse straight before I go into any movement, because if I don't have the horse straight or the horse upright before any movement I ride, then the beginning of any movement I ride will be bad because the horse is then not straight.